material called compound. Compound is a material that we can use heat to kind of make it soft. It's a solid until we put it in the heat, and the heat softens it. So that when it softens it, we're allowed to add that to that 2 millimeter shy tray to get the extent of the vestibule. Okay, so now we got the vestibule. The vestibule is much more accurate with this compound guided custom tray that we made, because we're allowed to put it in the mouth and move the patient's jaw and move their lips so that we can get the extent of the vestibule, right? So now that would be great if that gave us the perfect model. But still, the problem is that when we have a tray and we have the green stick compound, that both of these are very hard. And so if they're a little overextended, it's going to push the tissue away because it's hard. We need something soft. So what I usually preface this next part is that there's an expression, I don't know if you've ever heard it, but the expression is what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. Has anybody ever heard? If you haven't, it's okay. You're not going to be tested on it, but it's so that people can go with nefarious ideas to Vegas and it never gets spread around. So what goes on, but what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. If you're anybody never been there? All right, so that kind of stuff happens. Well, in this classroom, what's about to happen stays here. All right, I don't want you going out seeing Dr. Hall saying anything. The reason I'm telling you this is because this is for descriptive purposes only. So we have this custom tray that's lined with green stick compound. It's hard, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this custom tray guided green stick compound, and inside of that tray, I'm going to put cream cheese. I'm going to put cream cheese. Why do I say cream cheese? Because I want you to get the concept that cream cheese is going to kind of like flow. You're going to put this cream cheese in there and you're going to put it in the patient's mouth. And when it goes in there, it's going to kind of like flow. And the reason I'm using that description is because I'm going to take that, I'm going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to call that cream cheese VPS, polyvinyl siloxane. Polyvinyl siloxane sounds like a big long term, but when you're being a dentist, you're going to be used it so many times, it's going to just roll off your tongue just like you say any other word. Polyvinyl siloxane comes in 3 different consistencies, or maybe even more. It comes in heavy body, medium body, and light body. And so what happens with this cream cheese that we're going to turn into polyvinyl siloxane is that polyvinyl siloxane, once you put it in this tray that's made with green stick compound, it's going to flow. It's going to flow like crazy. But the thing about this polyvinyl siloxane is it never truly hardens. It turns into like a rubber type of material. So now that we've got this material that's never going to harden, it's going to turn into this rubbery kind of material. It flows into all the nooks and crannies and all the little imperfections of the tissue. And you take this out of the patient's mouth, because once it turns into this rubber, it actually takes the actual contour of the tissue exactly the way it is, because it's not pushing the tissue out of the way. It's soft and creamy, and it actually goes in and it captures the surface of your impression. Now you take this out of the mouth, and when you look at it, the surface is called the edentulous surface. That surface, when you look at it, you take out your impression and you look at it, that's called the edentulous surface. It's just a fancy term, okay? We have these terminologies that, you take a person that wants to be a kindergarten teacher, right? And they go to college and they learn all of these different ways of how do you potty train and how do you do these things. And so they go in there and they start teaching 6-year-olds. After about 10 years of doing that, you end up talking like a 6-year-old. You don't say, hey, I've got to go to the restroom, or where's the restroom? You start saying, hey, I got to go potty. And people look at you and say, yeah. So we as dentists have our own little terminology. Because when you start seeing patients all the time, patients are going to act like they know everything. And you're going to start thinking that you talk like that. But you need to learn dental terminology so that when you're around a bunch of dentists, you know exactly how to talk. So we start talking about the intaglio surface as if we're talking about the true contour of the surface of what we're doing. That method that we take, that custom tray that's been bordered mold with compound, and that method where we put the impression material in, cream cheese, we put the impression material in and take the impression, that's called a wash. The wash is when you go in there and take this custom tray guided green stick compound and you take this impression material in so that it actually truly captures the interior border of the tissue, kind of like at rest with no pressure. That's called mucostatic. That word is the other term when you're having soup and you have your spoon, and as you start tasting the soup, you take your pinky out because we're doing this very proper. We're talking as if we're like true dentists on the higher end. We're using these terms. Hey, I just took a wash of my impression. When you go on your residency program and you say wash, they're going to say, what school did you go to? Because you're going to be on that level, and I want you to stay on that level. So I'm basically trying to clear up with you what we're doing when we're taking the wash so that we can get the most accurate impression known to man. So when we were in there talking, right? As I was going around from person to person, I said, do you know why we're doing this green stick compound and this custom tray? And a lot of people didn't really quite understand. But it's that impression material that you have, the impression that you take after you border mold in that custom tray that gives you the most accurate impression. And the most accurate impression gives you the most accurate model. Does anybody have any questions at all? Yes.
What do you use, like heavy body and the light body?
So that's a phenomenal question. When do you use heavy body? When do you use medium body? When do you use light body? What difference does the body make? The whole thing is, when you're doing this, it's your call. When you're doing this, you're trying to do the very best impression that you can. So when you do this, if you feel like the heavy body is the best material, you can use heavy body. Most of the times you kind of use medium body. But if you have like real little small little areas that you want to capture, you use your light body. You use any kind of consistency that you feel like you need. Now there's another body that you use that is heavier than heavy body, and we use that, and you're going to see this coming up pretty soon, for bite registration. Because when you're trying to register a person's bite, when you have a patient and you want to see how their bite is, the problem with registering a bite is as soon as you tell the patient to bite down, the patient bites down in CO, and then all of a sudden they slide sometimes. And so when you're trying to take an accurate bite registration, timing is important. So you put the registration material on the occlusal surfaces of the teeth. You hold